It's dawn on August 24th, 1217, and 16 English merchant ships bob in the cold waters off Sandwich, Kent. The fog is thick, rolling across the channel in heavy grey waves. On the flagship, Hubert de Burgh stands at the rail, knuckles white against the wood. He's 50 years old, grey-bearded, exhausted. He's not a sailor. He's the justiciar of England, the king's chief administrator, a bureaucrat forced to play admiral because there's no one else left. Around him, his crew shifts nervously. These aren't warships. They're cargo vessels, high-sided merchant cogs, hastily fitted with archer platforms and crude fortifications. The men aren't professional sailors either. They're dock workers, fishermen's sons, a few mercenaries, many who've never been out of sight of land. A young captain named Thomas approaches, voice low and urgent.
Lord, 70 ships. We counted 70 French sails on the horizon.
Hubert keeps staring into the fog. He knows what 70 ships means. 16 cogs against a fleet meant to conquer England. The odds are impossible. But if these French reinforcements reach Prince Louis in London, the war is over. England will have a French king. The 9-year-old Henry III will lose everything his father died defending. A young sailor nearby, barely 17, named Edmund, clutches his bow with white knuckles. His hands shake. This is his first battle, possibly his last. Hubert turns to face his crew and raises his voice so all the men can hear. He tells them the French ships are heavy, slow, built for transport, not battle. The English are lighter, faster. They have the wind. And they have something the French don't, the will to fight for home. The men murmur, some emboldened, others still terrified. And then, through the thinning fog, they see it. A forest of sails, dark against the morning light. 70 ships. The French invasion fleet.
Heave that up, quickly now. Watch the ropes on the starboard side.
3 weeks earlier, across the channel in Calais, the French port is buzzing with activity. 70 ships crowd the harbour, transports, warships, supply vessels packed tight. Soldiers load crates of weapons, barrels of grain. Horses stamp nervously on gangplanks. Banners bearing the fleur-de-lis flutter everywhere in the sea breeze. At the centre of it all stands Eustace, the monk, a wiry, sharp-eyed man in a black cloak. Once a Benedictine monk, now the most feared pirate in the Channel. Beside him, Robert de Courtenay, noble-born, armour polished to a mirror shine, every inch the French commander. Robert surveys the fleet with satisfaction.
70 ships, Eustace. Enough to break any English resistance.
Eustace grins.
The English have maybe a dozen fishing boats. They won't even try to fight. And even if they do, their commander is Hubert de Burgh, Kiev, an old clerk, a bureaucrat, not a sailor.
The French sailors around them laugh. Confidence radiates from every man. They outnumber the English 5-1. They carry the future king's army. Victory seems inevitable, ordained by God himself. But confidence can be a fatal disease, because the French didn't understand what desperation could do to men with nothing left to lose. Prince Louis of France had been invited to take the English throne by rebel barons tired of King John's tyranny. When John died in October 1216, his 9-year-old son Henry was crowned. But half of England's nobility refused to accept him. Louis controlled London, Dover, much of the south. If these reinforcements arrived, the loyalist cause would collapse. England would have a French king. Eustace the monk was the key to French naval dominance. Once a monk, he'd turned to piracy after a dispute with his monastery. For years, he'd raided English shipping, burned coastal towns, eluded every attempt to capture him. His reputation was terrifying. Men said he could control storms, turn invisible, sink ships with curses. But reputation wouldn't save him from what was coming. Across the channel in Dover, Hubert de Burgh stands in a sparse council chamber before a map of the channel. English nobles and military advisors surround him. They're arguing, their voices rising in panic and frustration. They're telling him that engaging Eustace with 16 ships is suicide. They want to negotiate, sue for peace while they still can. Hubert slams his hand on the table. The room falls silent. He will not surrender England to Louis. He watched King John die knowing his son's throne was already threatened. He will not let this kingdom fall without a fight. An old English admiral asks the question everyone's thinking. How do they beat 70 ships? Hubert studies the map, tracing the currents with one finger. They don't meet the French head-on, they can't. But Eustace is arrogant. He's sailed these waters unchallenged for years. He won't expect aggression from a handful of English merchant vessels. So they'll ambush him, use the wind, strike fast, aim for the command ships, break their formation before they realize what's happening.
And if it fails?
A baron's voice is skeptical, afraid. Hubert meets his eyes.
Then, England ends on August 24th.
Over the next days, the English fleet prepares. Sailors load arrows by the hundreds. They sharpen blades until the edges gleam. And they mix something special. Clay pots filled with a mixture of pitch, sulfur, and quicklime. Greek fire-style incendiaries. When thrown onto wooden decks and shattered, they burst into flames that water can't extinguish. The French have never faced this weapon at sea. August 24th, early morning. The French fleet sails in a long, strung-out line, not a battle formation, but a transport convoy. Ships spread across nearly a mile of water, their focus on carrying cargo, not fighting. Eustace's command ship is near the rear. Robert de Courtenay's vessel follows, surrounded by troop transports. They're making good time, the wind at their backs, heading straight for Sandwich. On the deck of Eustace's ship, a French sailor suddenly points.
Captain! English sails! Off the southern horizon!
Eustace barely looks up from the charts he's studying.
How many?
The sailor counts.
Maybe 15, 20 at most.
Eustace waves dismissively, he says,
They're running.
trying to stay ahead of the French fleet.
Ignore them.
Robert de Courtenay calls from his ship nearby, asking if they should form a defensive line. Eustace shouts back, annoyed.
For what? A handful of merchantmen? Keep moving!
But the English aren't running. On Hubert's flagship, he watches the French through the morning haze. His experienced eyes take in their formation, or rather, their lack of one. They're strung out, no defensive formation, exactly as he hoped. The French don't think the English will fight. Hubert gives the orders. Tight formation, windward approach. They'll cut across the French line and aim for the command vessels. The wind is with them, a southwest breeze. Prepare firepots, archers ready. When they close, they don't stop until the French are burning. The English ships surge forward, oars out, sails full. The southwest wind pushes them faster, faster. The gap closes. The French still don't react, still don't understand what's about to happen. On Eustace's ship, a sailor suddenly shouts in alarm.
Captain! They're not running! They're closing on...
Eustace finally looks, really looks. His face goes pale. He starts shouting orders, trying to form a defensive line, but it's too late. The English ships are already on them. The English ships slash across the French line like wolves through sheep. The distance closes to 50 yards, 30, 20. English archers draw their bows as one, muscles straining. The order comes. Loose! Arrows blacken the sky, a dark cloud rising and then falling toward the French decks. They slam down, hundreds of impacts. Men scream. French sailors scramble for cover. Blood spatters across wooden planks. Then the firepots. English sailors hurl the clay jars onto the nearest French ship. They shatter on impact. Flames explode, orange and hungry, spreading across the tarred wood. The fire doesn't extinguish when waves wash over it. It floats, it spreads. It clings to everything it touches like the hand of God's wrath. French sailors panic, running in all directions, screaming for water. But throwing water on Greek fire only makes it worse. The flames roar higher, climbing the rigging, devouring the sail. Men jump overboard to escape the inferno, splashing into the cold channel water. On the next English ship, sailors throw grappling hooks. Iron bites into French railings. The ships slam together with a bone-jarring crash. English soldiers storm across, axes swinging, knives flashing, war cries tearing from their throats. A French knight tries to rally his men, but an English axe takes him in the shoulder. He falls. The defense collapses. More English pour across. The French fleet had never expected this kind of aggression. They were transports, not warships. Their soldiers were below decks, packed in darkness, scrambling for armor and weapons. By the time they reached the rails, English sailors were already aboard, already killing. The fires spread faster than anyone can react. Wooden ships, tarred rigging, oiled leather, everything burns. Smoke chokes the air. Men can't see, can't breathe, can't tell friend from enemy. Chaos reigns across a dozen ships at once. On Eustace's ship, complete panic. Officers shout contradictory orders. Sailors run in every direction. Robert de Courtenay tries to coordinate a defense, tries to turn the fleet about, but it's impossible. The English have the wind. If the French turn, they're dead in the water. And then another English ship slams into Eustace's vessel. Firepots shatter across the deck. Flames erupt. The mast catches. Men scream. Eustace screams for his crew to break away, to escape, but his helmsman shouts back. To where? The English are everywhere. And they are. 16 English ships swarm like hornets, targeting every command vessel they can reach. The French fleet, 70 strong, descends into chaos. No coordination, no command structure, just terror spreading from ship to ship like the flames consuming their decks. This was the genius of Hubert's plan. He didn't need to sink 70 ships. He needed to break their command structure, target the leaders, spread panic, let the fleet destroy itself. Medieval naval battles were decided by morale as much as tactics. Once sailors believed they were losing, they ran. And the French were running. Success. On Hubert's flagship, Thomas wipes blood from his face, grinning through the carnage. He shouts,
Half the French ships are turning back!
Hubert's response is immediate.
Press harder! Find Eustace! Now!
An English sailor points through the smoke.
Black sails! That's his ship!
Hubert gives the order.
Take us to him! Now!
The battle spreads across the water. Some French ships surrender, crews throwing down weapons and raising white flags. Others burn, slowly sinking beneath the waves. A few try to escape south, but English ships chase them down like hounds after foxes. Hubert's crew closes on Eustace's vessel. It's damaged, sail torn, deck scorched and splintered, but still afloat. Grappling hooks fly through the air. The ships crash together. Hubert shouts the order.
Border! Search every corner!
English sailors pour across. French resistance is weak. Most have already fled below decks or jumped overboard. The fighting is brief and brutal. Axes rise and fall. Swords clash and scrape. Blood runs across the deck, mixing with seawater. The English descend into the darkness below. The bilge sloshes with seawater. Rats scatter from the lantern light. And there, hidden among coils of rope and empty barrels, they find him. Eustace the monk, soaked, desperate, a knife trembling in his hand.
Stay back! I'm worth more alive!
They drag him up to the deck, into the grey afternoon light. Hubert waits above, breathing hard, his sword still red with French blood. He stares at the infamous pirate. They said Eustace could vanish, control storms, sink ships with curses. Eustace falls to his knees on the blood-slick deck, begging.
I can serve England, I know the French plans. Please.
Hubert shakes his head slowly. Eustace burned English towns, killed English sailors, terrorized the coast for years. There is no mercy. He nods to the sailor with the axe. The axe falls. Silence. The head rolls across the deck, leaving a red trail. The legend of Eustace the monk, pirate, shadow, ghost, ends here on a blood-stained deck in the Channel. Just another dead man after all. Eustace's execution was both justice and strategy. His death shattered what remained of French morale. Word spread across the fleet like wildfire. The ghost pirate was dead. The invincible commander had been dragged from the bilge like a rat and beheaded. The French fleet disintegrated. Robert de Courtenay fled south with whatever ships could still sail. Of the 70 vessels that left Calais, fewer than 20 made it home. The rest were captured, burned, or sent to the bottom of the Channel. Prince Louis's reinforcements, his last hope of securing England, were gone. 1 month later, London. A hall draped with royal banners. Prince Louis stands across from English envoys. He looks exhausted, defeated. Hubert de Burgh is there, now a hero, standing beside representatives of the young king. A French envoy reads from a document, his voice hollow. Prince Louis renounces all claim to the English throne. He will withdraw his forces and return to France. An English baron leans close to Hubert, whispers.
We won.
Hubert whispers back.
We survived.
Prince Louis signs the Treaty of Lambeth. His voice is bitter as the ink dries.
If Eustace had lived, if those ships reached England then.
Hubert's response is respectful but firm.
They didn't. And England remains England.
The First Baron's War ends with a signature and a wax seal. Henry III's crown is secure. The Battle of Sandwich was not the largest naval battle of the medieval period, but it was one of the most decisive. 16 English ships had defeated a fleet 70 strong, not through superior numbers, not through better ships, but through audacity, tactics, and a refusal to accept defeat. Hubert de Burgh, a clerk who became an admiral by necessity, had saved England. He would go on to serve as regent for young King Henry, stabilizing the realm through its most vulnerable years. The battle proved a truth that would echo through naval history. Numbers mean nothing against strategy. Size means nothing against surprise. And sometimes, the smallest force can change the fate of kingdoms. If this story of impossible odds and desperate courage amazed you, wait until you hear about men who faced an enemy even more relentless than any army. Winter itself. A crew sailing into storms that killed dozens, with no fire to keep them warm, and only wool and will to survive. Click on it, and we'll see you soon with another forgotten medieval story.